It's my understanding that Washington State may be the only state left with a B&O tax for businesses. Is that everybody's understanding? We're one of the last ones to have a B&O tax. How would you propose we make Washington State more friendly to business?
I don't have a perfect answer for that. I would have to look at states that don't have a B&O tax, that have thriving businesses. Look at the states where businesses swarm to. We wouldn't look at Michigan. We wouldn't look at some other states. When I was young, my dad asked me, he said, if I died today, he said, how would you know what to do in the field? How would you know to farm this place? I said, I don't know. He said, we can see 8 different ranches from where we sit. He said, who are the successful farmers? I named them. He said, yeah. He says, the day that they pull in the field with a plow, you pull into the field with a plow. The day that they pull into the field with a harrow, you pull into the field with a harrow, and the day they fertilize, you fertilize. I think that's the way we need to attack this. We do have a B&O tax, which is very, very regressive, which is bad on business. It needs to go. We need to be more business friendly. We need to study the best ways to do this, implement the best ways, and not play games with business. We don't need to try things, reinvent the wheel, and do things that don't work.
I agree, but being a small business owner, that B&O tax on gross sales, especially the part that it's not bad for people that have been in business for a while because they tend to have a little capital built up, but recruiting new business, they're paying that out before they make a dime. And so that is a problem. I mean, one of the things which would help business is to make it, if we're going to keep a B&O tax, on net income and not gross income. The other thing is, too, in Washington State, it's bigger than just the state. I don't know if you remember last year, the port was recruiting REC, a polysilicon plant. We went over to Olympia, and that's the problem with any tax, because depending on how much money you have and who you got lobbying for you, there's exemptions, and that's the problem with the income tax, too. But we did that. We got all the way down to the end of the game, and it ended up being the federal taxes that sent them out of the country. It wasn't necessarily Washington State, because we worked with them. We had the cheap power, we had the inexpensive land, and we got the B&O tax reduction, but it ended up being the federal government's tax system that sent them out there. And I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but it was a huge dollar amount that they saved per year by going to Canada, and that's what ran them. How much?
$1 million a month.
$1 million a month. So that's what ran them out. It wasn't what Washington State did. So.
Well, I recognize the B&O tax also, and it can really be a problem because it is a tax on the gross income. And from what I've understood or heard is like some of the huge corporations in the state of Washington, like Boeing and Microsoft, don't mind it quite that much because they got such a margin. They got the capital plus they got the profit margin. Where it really hurts is 2 places, and that's the small business, and I would push for an exemption up to a level that would give those small businesses a break. And secondly, certainly new businesses that come in. I think we need to have a step-in scale for new businesses before they just get whacked with a big B&O tax first day or first month or first year that they're in business here.
This does relate to the last question too, because when I said about how introducing the new tax is the opportunity to ratchet up, I think the B&O is a classic example that it's been ratcheted up through the roof. If we were to sit down and talk about it rationally, rational public policy is that basic idea that you do the best public policy because it makes the most sense, not because of politics. We also know that politics are related to things. I think we could sit here and talk in this room in a Republican stronghold part of the state about gung-ho business, but the reality is, too, that we are controlled by Democrats in the legislature, so will there practically be a change of B&O tax? I don't think any time in the near future unless we get a majority. So I think it does get back to then the discussion. Maybe the most we can hope for is a rational discussion, and exactly like candidate number 5 over here talked about, that is the kind of rational discussion that I think you have to talk about that at more of a national level. But maybe things get so bad where we tax the bejesus out of businesses so bad that it comes to a head. Washington, I think, has had a certain advantage because we do have incredible talent pool. We also have proximity to the trade with other countries in the Orient, and a lot of advantages that other states don't have. But it gets back to that rational discussion. And I think that that's where we have to end up going, is saying B&O heavy isn't doing it. Sales tax, we've about tapped that out. We're not talking income tax and because that's a regressive. Maybe we need to talk about a consumption tax, because everybody still does like those roads to drive around on. There is a certain amount of public structure we do need.